Okay, it looks like we're in. We're in. One, two, three, four. We started this one today. I don't know if I made it, but I was just there at the time. I was actually going to go ahead and do something else. But one, two, three, four sounds like a good time to come in. Uh, Wanted to thank you all again. You know, thank you all again as we come into today. You know, today is the end of this month, and a lot of things have been going, going. And I wanted to pop on here and actually go ahead and first of all talk about today. You know, I always like to stay present and everything. And then also what today even uh, starts, you know, for these next, especially these next couple of days into the start tonight, Hallows Eve or Halloween. You know, we have it's like Ancestors Day or on the November 1st. We have one in April also, but this one is the Ancestors Day also today. And I'll show you how, if you don't already know, inside your scriptures and everything. And then we have that of Dios Day of the Dead, and then uh, Dios de los Muertos. Okay, and so those are again one is I believe the Day of the Dead is one we is it's Day of the Dead for us that we go ahead and relate that to our ancestors. Then in Spanish and everything, they have one day I particularly believe it's to like the youngsters and everything that pass away. Okay, uh, and then we have Day of the Dead, which is that of for the general people in general and everything, whether it be by tragic death, murder, all those things. Uh, just still a remembrance of the dead, okay, or even celebration of the dead. They're not necessarily here right now, so maybe they moved on to different places, whether it be for better or worse. They'll probably have to end up being inside of their own life, uh, and where if we believe heaven and hell. But regardless, we're just going ahead, just like we acknowledge, like the solstice returns, about birthdays and so forth. Same thing as with that of the, even Christmas or anything, any holiday, holy day. And so, anyway, today, these two are actually prompted. I mean, I couldn't believe. I mean, first and foremost, it was with that of, and they're both in 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 sync in the sense that not having the full picture and still not having the full picture, but not doing enough work in order to even turn and see, what was needed to be seen and even understood to whatever degrees, like I said, with eyes that I did not have at the time. And this applies to both of the, you know, ignitions, who prompted me to go ahead and jump in here today, along with that of the ancestors. Okay. And so, as we say, to be continued. Okay, it's to be continued, and it's always going to be to be continued. But this prompt right here came from, and I'm putting my left arm behind my back right now. Okay, because I owe an apology. I'm gonna leave it back there while I do this apology and everything, because this is what I said to this lady here when I didn't have all the facts or enough, you know. And even though we actually think a lot alike, you know what I'm saying? And not having patience for one with even inside my own stuff, things that I was going through or continually going through right now, but we had a different perspective on it. And she pick me, you know. And so I immediately labeled it like a pick me type of person, but person or girl, but as she's a lady. She's a lady that was actually going through the same thing and many different, and probably more because she had to fight for her finances. I didn't have my finances to fight for. It wasn't even about finances for me. It was actually more about just simple Wahrheit, truth. Okay. And when I went ahead and spoke and listening, you know, I find myself like, this is like a big school. You know what I'm saying? Arm is still behind my back, just letting you know. Big school, even high school, it's all levels and everything. You got all levels, even though we're grown, gray hair, or, hey, 20, 30, 40, to 90. Okay. we're still, it's still a big school. And a lot of times we regress or even just go back around the block to go ahead and maybe learn something again and maybe get a better grade on it, But in doing that right there, I went ahead and I listened to, as a matter of fact, it reminded me of a story with TJ. Gave instruction to Eugene on what to do in a test, and it was all bad. It ended up being all bad. And the same thing right here. I thought I'm receiving instruction and everything on what my hand behind my back, uh, was actually going through or doing, you know, which I didn't necessarily have the all of the pieces for, but I took that and ran with it, and like a dummy, you know, because of all the other torpedoes coming in, you know, especially trying to hook to a marriage and that wasn't even there really for that and everything, Like I said, everything else was like a sidebar action, sideshow, or okay, I'm looking at, okay, and I'm making, processing the thought and everything. Okay, and then, and then it gets inside of that whole, you know, thing of, like I said, hadn't even processed the death, like of my grandmother, or even my mother, or even the departure of how the family had separated, and all that stuff and everything. So, and then a marriage. So, who's looking to get into a marriage right away on that? Okay. And oh, sorry about that. I took my hand behind my back from behind my back. I was wrong on that. And I took the narrative and went ahead and told her, "Hey, put your left hand behind your back and assume the position." You know,